All right, we'll start here in Nigeria on the Blueprint newspapers and share with you what the major stories are. The big one there says US, UK, Germany, and others terror alerts false and irresponsible. That's what it says. And also on the Blueprint newspapers this morning, 5 days after planned Naira redesign, Forex scarcity worsens. Of course, we're going to be having a conversation about that this morning. Also this morning on the Blueprint, Tet Fund as the harbinger of research and learning. Avocado pear has several economic potentials, says the DGRMRDC. And also NCC is committed to federal government anti-corruption crusade, says Dambata. Court dismisses group's bid to stop certificate forgery suit against Tinubu. Okay, well, once again, court dismisses group's bid to stop certificate forgery suit against Tinubu. Of course, Tinubu is the candidate, the presidential candidate of Nigeria's leading, or rather, Nigeria's ruling political party, the APC, contesting for elections in 2023. Also on the Blueprint this morning, at last, $1.5 billion Lekki Deep Sea Port completed, 170,000 jobs expected. Nnamdi Kanu to approach Supreme Court over federal government stay of execution order. And South Africa's biggest bank out to acquire banks in Nigeria and Kenya. Two more stories to quickly share. Outsourcing of garment making from UAE and Senegal over soon, says Naseni. Final, remain neutral. Ensure peaceful conduct of 2023 polls, Buhari tells police. Those are the stories on the Blueprint this morning.
All right, let's still stay in Nigeria this morning, looking at the Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust, we have the big story. Naira redesign, dollar scarcity hits BDCs. Sells at 818 Naira to the dollar. That's not interesting. Naira depreciated by 53 Naira in 5 days at parallel market. Nigerians rush to dispose of local currency. I think we foresaw that this was going to happen. It's failing as a store of value, says expert. If you want to find out more details about that, you can get a copy of the Daily Trust. It's on page 4. And we have at the bottom of the paper, from prison to presidency, Brazil's Lula rises from the ashes. The details of that's on page 5. Federal government, Lagos investment in Lagos, or Lekki Port rather, to generate 287 trillion Naira. Uganda, Nigeria at high risk of Ebola, says NCDC. We've been talking about this again, the fact that we do not feel like enough attention has been put on the Ebola threat in Uganda. We've been talking about the fact that this new strain is different from the earlier strain.
Yes.
This is the Sudan strain. There are no vaccines for this. What is the world doing? What is Africa doing? Are we just going to pretend and ignore Uganda is not currently struggling with handling the situation until it then spreads to other parts of the country? Well, the NCDC in Nigeria said that Nigeria is at high risk of Ebola. On page 34, census, NPC begins recruitment as federal government urged to patronize local ICT firms to boost economy. At the top of the paper, we've been talking about the terror alert issued by different countries. Federal government says that a U.S. terror alert irresponsible as security beefed up at the National Assembly. Buhari to police, be neutral during 2023 polls. The final story this morning on page 32. I sold my property to give 3,000 students foreign scholarships, according to Kwankwaso. Yeah, that's all that we can take this morning, but not before I take the stats. Of course, we know that Daily Trust always keeps count. 502 days in captivity, and that's for the 11 schoolgirls of FGC Benin-Yarui, and 475 days in captivity for one student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama. We keep hopes alive. We keep hope alive that they would eventually come back to us one day.
Absolutely. And of course, in response to the President Lula story, not even that one, the Brazilian president, he of course is unseating the current president, Bolsonaro, and Bolsonaro is not getting a second term. So I just wanted to say Lula is not special. From prison to presidency. Well, we had the former South African president, Nelson Mandela,
from prison to presidency.
Former Nigerian president, Olusegun Obasanjo.
Yeah.
That's those two most popular ones, who have moved from prison to presidency.
And then reminds us of also a biblical figure called Joseph, from prison to presidency.
But the difference here is Lula went to prison in 2018 for corruption, corruption charges. Obasanjo is a little different. Nelson Mandela also a little different. But
Joseph also was a little different.
yeah, he was, yes, it was different. But just to say, Lula is not special. All right. All right. Now let's go to South Africa and see what's on the Sowetan this morning. It says here, survivor of shooting speaks. Man recalls why he was shot in back while fleeing the scene of the robbery where gang randomly shot people. Sele brings out Amabrete as community complains about lack of proper policing. That's on page 2 of the Sowetan this morning. Mayor safe, at least for this week. And we can also find here, Amasi like you've never had it before. That's an article on page 8. And finally, there's a measles outbreak in Limpopo. That's on page 6 of the Sowetan this morning. Those are the stories that we can find. We can also find, of course, the pictures on your screen there. Minister of Police Becky Sele during his visit to Fine Town, south of Johannesburg yesterday, where 7 people were shot dead and 4 sustained injuries on Saturday. Really, really sickening story.
Very sad. Now let's head over to Tanzania and see what's happening on the front page of the Citizen newspaper. And on the front page, the big story says, okay, all right, let's still stay in Nigeria and take the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, the big story there says, terror alert, federal government reassures Nigerians, pushes back against US UK. Foreign minister to warn ambassadors against alarming advisories. Terror alert irresponsible. Go about normal business. Security chiefs. Do that easy. Say, well, just go about your normal business.
No, I really was going to mention yesterday that, these are, it's really just signs of how insecurity affects the economic situation of every place. Abuja, the federal capital territory, in the last week has not been the same.
It hasn't.
Since these things, because people have stayed away from malls, stayed away from public places, and all of that. So it's just clear evidence of when there are security concerns, businesses suffer.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing in the federal capital territory in Abuja, Nigeria.
And especially because Abuja is a seat of power, so whatever happens there is very important. Anyway, let's still talk about that. Transcorp Hotel sets new security protocol. FCT police meet hotel operators. Commuters stranded as Lagos commercial drivers protest extortion. Now, we took updates yesterday. At the time of the show yesterday, it hadn't started, and what they said they were doing wasn't actually a protest. They said it was a boycott. Anyway, but they are protesting the extortion, of course. Marketers protest 185 naira litre fuel, threaten strike. And this 185 naira to the litre, it previously was 175, in some stations 145, no figures. Lagos Ibadan highway kidnappers kill captives over ransom. Collected 3.2 million naira from my father. This is lady, that's very heart-wrenching. The details of that's on page 4 and 5. 2023 elections, don't be partisan, Buhari counsels police. On page 30. At the top of the paper, we have federal government exceeds loan target by 1.12 trillion naira, borrows 5.3 trillion naira. Naira devaluation will worsen Nigeria's food energy crisis, says World Bank. IOCs polluting Nigeria must face sanctions, says federal government. And final story this morning, Sanwo-Olu, Lagos can. Anglican diocese mourn Bishop Olumakaye.